Hi, I'm Dan over at Groom. Thanks a lot for checking in. The purpose of this video is to show you how to set up your ultrasonic cleaner. So let's get right down to it. Let's look at the major elements of the ultrasonic cleaner. This is the ultrasonic cleaner itself. It operates off of 115 volts and it has some knobs and some things on it that I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail. This is the actual wand to which the tip connects to, and I'll show how those get connected together onto the wand holder that's already connected onto the ultrasonic cleaner. The tips come in a little box like this. There's a wrench, and this wrench is used to tighten the tip onto the wand. And then the last part of it is the actual foot switch to turn the device on and off with. So those are the primary elements of the system. Now let's just take a second and look at some of the attributes on the product itself. On the front we have a green knob and it's numbered from 1 to 14, and this is the actual intensity control, where the larger the number, the more intense on the ultrasonic cleaning. On the right hand side there's a little silver knob, and this is for the water flow control. Turning it to the right will reduce the flow, and then turning it to the left will allow more water flow. Now I'm going to go all the way to the back of the device. There's a switch to turn the device on and off with. Of course, it needs to be in the on position in order to be used. And then we have two other connections. This connection over here on the right is for the foot switch, and then this connection over here on the left is for the incoming water flow. So those are the primary attributes on the device itself. The only thing I really missed is this little thing here, and you can hold your wand on it. So that wraps up the attributes. Now let's jump into how to connect the thing all together. So let's start off by connecting together the wand. This little Chinese cufflink thing here comes off. And look close here. You can see that there's a part of a pie piece with some female and male connectors. And then on the other side, same story. And you can see where this plugs in the male part of this pie, plugs into the female missing part of this pie. And there's no real force required. They just snap together like that. No twisting or turning. So that connection is made. Our next connection is going to be to put the tip onto the head. And these tips come in the little blue plastic box. They're threaded, and you can get it started manually just by turning it right on there. And you can get it pretty tight, and you can actually use the device with it just finger tight, but it will vibrate loose. So that's why there's this tiny little wrench over here that's used to tighten this down onto the head. And it doesn't take much, just what you can do with your finger, like so, not overly tightening it. So that's done. We have our wand and our head all connected together. Now let's connect the foot switch on there. And the foot switch goes over here on the right hand side. And I'm going to hold this up and show the same way how we have a couple holes in here for the pins, and then it's probably really hard to see, but you can see that there is a little indent cut out on this area here where my pinky is at. Then the other thing I'm going to show on the foot switch is the way that the outer sheath retracts. It's spring loaded. So when I connect that onto the ultrasonic cleaner, I'm going to have this pulled back, and I'm going to have it in the correct radial orientation to match these holes up in that indent. Picking up the device and looking in there, I can see that the little indent there is at about the 3 o'clock position. So I'm going to pull this back, and I'm setting this up so that that is at about the 3 o'clock position, and I'm on. And I can tell I'm on because if I pull it back, it won't come off. The only way that I can get it to come off is if I pulled that outer sheath back. Okay, so that leaves us with one more connection to make, and that's the water. And I'm not going to make small of the water connection because a lot of people have issues and they kind of fight with the water connection. So one of the key things about the water on the device is that it needs to be distilled water. Tap water, well water will work fine for an hour or 3 hours, but the tiny particulates that are in the water will jam up the system. So you really need to have distilled water. The distilled water needs to be elevated, preferably 40 inches above the ultrasonic cleaner, so that there's a little bit of positive pressure on the water going to the device itself. My favorite way to go is to take a cap, drill a hole in it, and then that holds that tube in place. And then you can just use that same cap on other bottles. The other trick is duct tape. You can just duct tape the water inlet line onto the jug. And I'll save you some time if you put it in there, and you're right, it'll stay. But once you get things all connected, it'll come out. And you'll be disappointed because that. So please get a full gallon of distilled water, duct tape the inlet side of the hose on so you know right where it's at, or use the hole through the cap. Then the next trick is going to be to establish flow. And if I suck on this, I can get the flow established. You can see the flow here, and that's what I want before I connect this onto the back of the device. So this is rotated counterclockwise to get it loose. Then I come down here, and it is a little tricky because it's wet and it's slippery, and I'm pushing that plastic tube onto there, and then I rotate to tighten it up. So I'm really just about done. The only thing I didn't do is plug it in. And like I mentioned, it's a standard 115 volt receptacle is required. It draws very little current, so there's no dedicated circuit required. And you want to just plug it into any standard wall receptacle. You can see that the power light illuminated on the front of it. And so we're pretty much ready to go. I'm going to take the foot switch and unwind it and get it onto the floor so that my feet can get on it. And I have my wand. And I'm going to open up with it down low. And it's on now. You can just barely hear it. And look closely. You can see the water just misting and dripping a little bit out of the head. The device is on and it's operational, and it's ready now to be applied to a dog's tooth. And remember, you can increase the intensity as the animal becomes accustomed to it. You can actually now just start to hear the device. There'll be a separate video on how to use the device with some tips about how to grow your business with the ultrasonic cleaner. We did a great job here. Thank you very much for your interest and attention. Hopefully this will help you set up your ultrasonic cleaner. Contact us at EasyGroom, www.easy-groom.com, or call 1-800-777-5899. Thank you very much again for your interest and attention.